So I think we need to, first of all, hold accountable those who broke into the Capitol, and to the extent they can be identified, they should be arrested and prosecuted. I think there also needs to be a look back as to why the Capitol Police seemed underprepared for what was the onslaught that they might face. And people should never have been in a position to get inside the building. And finally, as Senator Corker said, we need to acknowledge that this incessant rhetoric about the election being stolen, it's a fraud, and the big steal has stoked a certain percentage of people into extremist violence. And not just what we saw today, but we've seen bomb threats, threats against public officials in states. This has really been pouring gasoline on a fire, and we need to push back on this, not only on the rhetoric, but also on those extremist groups that are capitalizing on it.
When you look at this, Mr. Secretary, former Homeland Security Secretary, when you see that a bomb was discovered at the RNC today and has since been detonated, when a mob that had just listened to the president spout angry falsities from a rally and then march upon the Capitol, seize it, occupy it, and we hear nothing live from the president except, a little bit of move along and more lies about. Do you see this and wonder if our democracy is in real trouble?
I think our democracy is at risk. It's at stake. There's good news, though.
Our democracy at risk.
Yeah, but there's good news, too. The courts have been uniform in upholding the law, no matter which president appointed them. State officials have been quite courageous in pushing back against efforts to intimidate them. Most of the members of Congress have not signed on to this effort to try to undo the people's will, but unfortunately a significant minority have. So, one of the lessons is this, as Ben Franklin said, it's a republic if you can keep it. We have good institutions, but in the end, we have to cherish them, we have to enhance them, and we have to strengthen them. And that means we have to push back very sharply against people who are undermining fundamental faith in our institutions and in our rule of law.
Ms. Secretary, are we at a point where we just sort of wait out the next 14 days or whatever? Or have we gotten to the point where a group of former presidents maybe should step forward, including President Bush the 43rd, for whom you worked, and in a joint way, much like the Secretaries of Defense did in their letter to the editor, and say this has to stop?
Well, I certainly think that would be appropriate. And, frankly, there are people who are, hoping that maybe Trump will simply now at this point resign. I don't have a lot of hope for that. Some people have suggested looking at the 25th Amendment, which allows you to say, a president has become mentally incapacitated. Again, I'm not sure that the current cabinet would be interested in that or support it. Somebody suggested impeaching and removing him. I don't think there's enough time for that. So, the problem is really hedging his power so he doesn't do anything really reckless. And I'm reminded of the story, which, I can't verify because I was just a little kid. But when Nixon was getting really, kind of crazed towards the end of his impeachment process, apparently the Secretary of Defense told the military, if you get an order from the president, you come and check with me first. And we may have to have that in place with respect to our security agencies.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.